Well, hello everybody. It is Saturday, and I don't typically come on and do anything on Saturday, but um, this is a little different. So thank you for tuning in and listening. And again, I just want to stay right up from the get-go. I really don't know what's going on, but something is. And I wouldn't have been doing this show if it hadn't been for a text email that I got this morning, and actually from my radio show. And the way that it was worded was, well, was enough for me to take notice. And it was really short. I'll just give it to you exactly how it came into me. This person identified they were literally, they said that they were behind the checkpoints, military. And the individual, it just simply said this: something isn't right. Heads up. That's all it was. And like I said, didn't get into any specifics, didn't do anything more than, and I've been around long enough that it's the small cryptic messages that are the most important. If someone's going to be bloviating in an email, that's just nonsense. But and like I said, and the way that it came in, I knew that it came in through a text message that was an email. And again, this individual, military, said, this is what they said: something isn't right. Heads up. Now, I don't know what that means. Welcome, everybody. Let me just speak peace, speak favor, be of service to others, and let's just, we can't be naive, but I think that you can get into a point where it becomes extremely distracting. I had a person write me an email. They actually lived through the Cuba Revolution. He wrote very descriptively what it was like. And he says what he sees in Washington, D.C. reminds him a lot of what Castro did before Castro took over. All I do know is this. Let's just look at the facts. D.C. is now sealed off. You cannot go in and you cannot get out unless you go through a military checkpoint. The checkpoints that they have seals off all traffic, that it brings it into a one-lane checkpoint, that then you go into what they call isolated secure zone. In other words, you got freaking machine guns pointed at you. You must present papers, and the military must approve you to going in. If there is someone who thinks they're going to do something stupid like run through the checkpoints, they've now installed the barriers that pop up out of the streets. Um, I don't understand what's going on as well. There's 30,000 troops. I alerted everyone to this a week or so ago. I told you this was coming. Even when the first report said 10,000, I had someone who told me that was going to be closer to 30. It's now Washington, D.C. is now the most heavily military occupied district. It's the only world capital, free capital, supposedly, that is now a military occupation zone. Senator Rand Paul was quoted last night on Fox News stating, "We are now in a wartime state." What I'd like to ask you, Senator Paul, is who declared war and upon whom? Because you have the strength, and I think if I'm right on this, those who've served in the military, I think we're at a strength of what? Is this 4 or 5 battalions? I mean, this is the kind of theater that you put on the battlefield. This is Washington, D.C. Now, I get everyone being paranoid about the events a couple of weeks ago. Get it. But 30,000 troops, Abram tanks, APC, armor personnel carriers, mounted 50 cal machine guns, fully armed, and they've got now embedded in the National Guard troops. They now have combat troops. These are combat troops that have been in the Middle East theater. Why do we have combat troops in Washington, D.C.? I get the National Guard, and I think this is overkill for an inauguration. I mean, you're going to have more military than you're going to have civilians, if you're going to have civilians at all. And those civilians that do get inside the perimeter are going through a gauntlet of military security. And there is no word. They're setting up Constantine barbed wire around the Capitol, around the Supreme Court, around other federal buildings. Constantine wire? I mean, I woke up this morning and I said, whoa, when did this war get declared? I'm totally confused here. Why do we have 30,000 tanks? Why do we have Abram tanks on the outskirts of Washington, D.C.? Why do we have triage centers being set up? I'm mystified by this. I thought that this is a peaceful transition of power, that as an American and as part of our government, what we've shown to the world is that we're one of the few free countries where the transition of power has always been, it may not have been, let's go get a beer later, but it was civil and the transition of power took place. Never did we have 30,000 troops in DC. And I went back and looked at this. Even in the War of 1812, we didn't have 30,000 troops in Washington, D.C., folks. We've got more troops. We've got 13 times more troops in Washington, D.C. than we have in the Middle East and the Afghan, Iraq zones. Why? I've seen both sides of the argument. I'm the middle of this. I've told this, and it's well known. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I think both parties failed in bringing good, qualified, competent candidates. It's just my personal opinion. But what we're now seeing is the Speaker of the House was caught, and of course, this had to go through military approval, addressing the troops. When did the Speaker of the House suddenly take on a military position? I've never seen this. We're in air. I don't understand what's going on here. But again, and this is not going to go for, I'm not going to go for very long here. I don't know. It disturbs me. I went through the Vietnam War. I was one of the protesters. I know what tear gas tastes like, but we were fighting a just cause then. We didn't want to go off into the jungles in Southeast Asia and die. No one wants to die. And it was not a what we would call a moral war. It was a corporate war. That's what made it so wrong. And during that time, I've gone to, when I was in the Christian religion, I went to the Washington Jesus for Washington March. Brought in over 1 million people in there. Didn't see 30,000 troops. I have seen other protests within Washington, D.C. Never saw 30,000 troops, never saw tanks, never saw armored personnel carrier, never saw triage centers. All these soldiers, all these they're Army, regular Army. Now they probably have a good amount of different guardsmen called up, but the majority of these are Army. Fully armed, folks. Fully armed. I don't understand what's going on here. And yet, from either side of the political spectrum, we don't hear a word. We, as Americans, are supposed to somehow accept this, that 30,000 troops, tanks, armored personnel carriers, 50 caliber machine guns armed is normal. And somehow we're supposed to be believing that this is security for Congress. What the hell, Congress? That works out to a ratio of about 19 soldiers to one congressman. Hell, it's even more than that. So what's going on? No one is saying a word. Don't hear anything from Biden. Don't hear anything from Trump. I don't get this. And I'm sure I may not be the only person who's gotten warnings from soldiers on. We've got soldiers who love America. They have families just like you and I. They're afraid. You got troops in Washington, D.C., unsure as to who is actually going to be the commander-in-chief. You've got soldiers now saying something's wrong here. They're feeling it amongst themselves. Something's wrong. The amount of logistics you have to deploy to get 30,000 troops into a small perimeter, what we call the occupied zone, is incredible. The amount of statistics, the amount of support that you have to do in feeding, bedding, etc., etc. This is a military operation on a major scale. You just simply don't bring in and bus them on a Greyhound bus and say, well, when you get to DC, we'll give you your gun and your knapsack and what have you. No, they came in ready for war. Why? Why were the weekend soldiers given full armament, M4s? I've seen the 308s out there. Snipers on every building. Does someone again? I don't get this. 30,000 troops are enough to control. Are you ready for this? 30,000 troops can control up to 10 million people. The vast majority of people are going to be compliant. We have 30,000 troops in a perimeter, a little bit less than the size of, a city like New York, Chicago. And the way that they've now set the perimeter in there, and you've seen it in the slide, the graphic on here, this doesn't make sense. And I don't care where you stand on the political spectrum. This is dangerous. And someone of our leaders should begin to take leadership and address the nation. Why, President-elect? Why, Mr. President, do we have 30,000 fully armed troops with tanks, armored personnel carriers with full live 50 caliber machine guns? Why, Mr. President? Why, Mr. President-elect? Why are we not hearing anything? And now I'm telling you, military, because I know you're listening. You've got soldiers that are now giving the word out to others. And I have a real problem when soldiers become concerned. When they start sending out messages, something doesn't feel right. Heads up. It's unprecedented. It's dangerous. And may I say, it's reckless. And I would expect either side of the aisle come clean with Americans. This is not about an inauguration. No inauguration ever had 30,000 troops, armed troops. None. Don't tell the American people this is an inauguration. Don't tell the American people that this is security. We're not buying it. And as a citizen of this great republic, I'm deeply concerned, and I'm calling upon you, Mr. President Trump, address the nation. I know they've cut you off, and I'm calling upon you, Biden, show leadership. Explain to the American people what is going on. Why do we have a military occupation force in Washington, D.C.? Why do we have the military occupation right here in the state that I live in? This can't be no inauguration. And if Senator Rand Paul stated to the press that we exist in a wartime state, I want to know what exactly is a wartime state and exactly who declared war and again upon whom. I'm not going to take up any more time here. I know everyone has your opinions. I appreciate that. Everyone has their ideas. But I'm just going to tell you, you and I are not on the ground in Washington, D.C. You and I are not carrying around a fully automatic weapon. We're not. Everything that you and I say is just merely an opinion. But when we hear from the people who are carrying the guns, that are in fact military, sending messages out saying something ain't right, we all need to be heads up. I'm really out of the loop. Is that what someone says? No, BBD, you're just not, and I'll just say it this way. I know more than you do. So, but I'm also smart enough that I don't let my mouth run where it can go places that can get you in trouble. So thank you for that. Let's just hide that comment. I don't need to put up with this nonsense. Listen, you can be all the haters you want. You can be all the know-alls you want. But I'm the only one getting this message out. What are you doing? If you're so concerned, what are you doing? Now, this is wrong. And to tell me I'm out of the loop, that's an assumption and an opinion. And I happen to reject your opinion and replace it with my reality. So we all have our ideas here. Fine. I think that's cool. But I'm just telling you as an individual, been around a while, this is not normal. We all know that. Something is going on. And again, maybe the rest of you will join my voice. Ask President Trump to please address the nation. Let us know why we have Constantine wire being put up around every federal building, why we have triage centers being set up by military personnel. Why do we have these tanks? Why do we have battalions in a city that this is ridiculous? And yet no one says a word. That's what makes it even seem more ominous. Let's see, Bread, is that Beard Fingers? Some soldiers have been posting on TikTok what's going on. Okay, well, I guess I'm in that where people have listened to the Steiger Perspective. That's where that came from, because I can speak more freely over there. I didn't mean any harm to the other person, but you have to be discerning. You can't come out here and start failing and railing about, all this, all the conspiracy theories and that. Let's just deal with what we have. What we have is a military occupation of the free world, largest nation. The United States capital is now a military occupation territory. Why? Why do we have such armament that you would only see on the battlefield itself? Why? And again, who declared this war? And who is this war against? Is it against the American people? Are we expecting an invading troops coming in? I understand, folks. I get it. If many of you know my background, I've been closer to the power than most people here would only hope to be. And you know what? When I got close to that power, my wife and I got the hell out of the organization that we were in because we learned something. We saw something most people never see. So when I come on here and say, this is something that's very troubling, this is not normal. This is just as you would expect to see this in a third rate banana republic, in a coup that was taken over. And there's one person who lived in Cuba, saw the dead bodies, said, this looks very reminiscent. No, I get that, Blazing River. Listen, I get the fact of what we live. I get that. But what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, here is the general public. They're not getting it. My next door neighbor doesn't get it. Talking with them, they weren't even aware. Not even aware that there was this many troops. And so that tells me that we got a real problem, a real disconnect here. Well, do what you feel is best. I just came in here to express my concern. I do believe that there is an obligation by leadership to explain this situation, not lie to the American people anymore. Tell us what's going on. Is this a military coup? Is this a takeover of the government of the United States? Tell us. Tell us why you have the number of battalions in Washington, D.C. for what? Yeah, Blazing, I see you, buddy. I know. Live in strange time, folks. I never thought in my lifetime I would see something like this. I've been in this country. I was born in this country, been around 65 years. I've seen a time where our society, it was interesting. I was listening to Three Dog Night and their song, Easy to Be Kind. And one of the lyrics in there talks about correcting social injustice. And I told my wife, I said, here we are 50 years later, still talking about the same old shit. Social injustice, inequality. And now we got military occupation forces in Washington, D.C. Why is the military occupying Washington, D.C.? For whom are they answering to? Are the generals in rebellion against the sitting president? Are these generals in cahoots with the incoming president? Why, generals? You owe it to the American people to come clean. Your soldiers are already talking to us. And if you're expecting them to fire on innocent Americans, you might have a real problem and a real surprise coming. Wouldn't it be interesting that they were there actually for President Trump? See, I have to look at all, and that's what we have to do. I mean, this is a game that none of us want to be a part of, but each one of us are a player. And it's a dangerous game. And I'm like you with many people. I've met President Trump. He's a good man. I've met Joe Biden. He's batshit crazy. But Trump, I do believe, is a humanitarian. And so they're hearing about this. NSA, everything that's going on YouTube now that has anything to do with Washington, D.C. is now being censored. Most likely by NSA and most likely by military intelligence. So Mr. President, if they're not getting this to you, tell us what's going on. Because this is like someone invited us to a party and no one showed up. No, something's up. So, folks, keep yourself balanced. Keep yourself informed. Don't let either side on the theories carry any of us away. We can't trust the news. And so you have to be more diligent in finding where real good news sources. Gateway Pundits, by the way, .com is a good place to go. It is probably one of the most freest speech platforms and reporting organizations I've seen out there. And go and check out the video of the construction worker posted yesterday morning. Now, as he was walking through the empty streets, except for military, in Washington, D.C., he showed us all the checkpoints. And he said, even the construction workers are going, what's going on here? This is an inauguration? For whom? And let's just hope that this video keeps up. I think I kept within the community guidelines, expressed no opinion right or left, just expressed the as a human being, humanitarian. Please tell us what's going on. Mr. President, I know you love America, love it more than Biden does, but tell us. Biden, I don't like you, but let's see if you have any real leadership. Tell us what's going on. And this is not security, again, for Congress or for any kind of inauguration. You get enough DC police to do that. You know why they got some of the military in here? Because they know they can't trust the DC police, the Capitol Police. They learned that. And now that bothers them. I'm going to tell you what, you may not be able to trust the soldiers you're deploying in the streets. I don't know, Terry. I don't know. I don't know how he's supposed to do that. I understand the challenges. I understand the war that's taking place. I get it. I'm just expressing that this is what's in everybody's heart. Wouldn't you want to tell a person you loved or something that was intimately dangerous coming, that there was imminent danger? And if you say, well, there's no danger at all, well, you're certainly giving the impression that there's a lot of danger. You got the freaking military involved. You've got more soldiers in the free world's capital than you do in any war zone. So yeah, I'm asking the questions. I'm just a common man. A very simple man, that's all I am. I ask questions because I question things. I don't accept the tripe from any party, right or left, or in the middle. I'm just concerned. And that's all I'm doing. I'm speaking as an American citizen, and I'm telling the world something's not right here. And I'm concerned for my country. I don't give a damn about the Democrats. I don't give a damn about the Republicans. I love my country. And that's all I can say. I wish you all well. I wish you all safety. And thank you for listening. Just expressing as a citizen my deep concerns for my country. And I don't like being where I have nothing but to rely upon propaganda. I don't dig that. I don't dig propaganda to begin with. So, love you all. Let's love each other. And let's unite as Americans. Not as Democrats, not as Republicans, not as independents, just as Americans. We may be the worst country in our morals and everything that we do, but we is all we got. And if we can't love each other just on the simple basis that it's a groovy place to live in America, then what are you going to do? I like this place. So much love to you all. Let's send love to our political leaders, both Biden and Trump. This is where the expressions, love your enemy like you would love yourself. I don't know who the enemy is. It seems to be a moving target, but some say that some consider us the enemy, and that shocks me. I'm going, really? I'm going to be making banana chocolate bread today. So why would that make me, somehow a target? Hey, Jay, what's up, buddy? So, folks, we love them. And someone has to take the first step. Someone has to take the first step and be human enough to say, hey, I'm not perfect. Neither are you. Hey, I may not like how you think or how you dress or, but hey, you probably don't like the way I think either. That's cool. And what's really cool is the fact that we can live in the same community, have differences of opinions and ideas, but to treat everyone with kindness, with empathy, with humanitarianly, saying, hey, love America. So I don't do political shows, and there's a reason for it, but this one is the exception. This one has to be addressed. I hope there's other YouTube channels that will come out today, do live shows. Please join me in bringing a call to either side. I don't care, but someone needs to address the nation. Someone needs to get up there and say, this is why we have all the troops here. And let us, the American people, judge to see if they're telling the truth or if they're trying to lie. But you see, the quietness of this is the ominous part of it. Neither side is talking. And if anyone who's been in the military, anyone who's taken strategy, this is the classic play. Now, I am hoping that it becomes a dud. But there is a scenario in military strategy that says that this is also designed to cause confusion, uncertainty. I don't know who's in charge. I don't know who's giving the orders. Let us hope that they are a human being, not blinded by political ideology or religious dogma. Let's hope they're just a human and look at this and say, this has got to stop. Maybe we need a foreign country to come in and hold a summit for both sides of the aisle so we can work out a peace treaty and not have this war. Maybe we can have some country, I don't know who it is, that is a friend to the United States, that has shown that they have moral fortitude, that they know how to negotiate, they have diplomatic ability, and come and broker a peace between the right and the left. Because the way it's going right now, it's all one-sided and it's all hate. We got to stop the hate. And we got to stop the fear. And again, Mr. President, please address the nation. I know they've cut you off. I got that. But you know what? You do have the emergency alert system, sir. You've got that right there in the White House. You can activate the emergency alert system. And you can address this. They can't stop you that way. But someone needs to address this, because each day that goes by, it's just continuing to build up. No blue helmets. I didn't say that. Now, you see, that's how people go off. I never said anything about the UN or blue helmets. I said a country that was favorable to us. See how it goes off? Good gracious, people. Come on. This is nuts. You see what happens? We are so screwed up. Emperor Rex, we have here in the United States, it's called the Emergency Alert System, broadcast system. And the president, he's got control of that. So they can talk. If he activates it, well, then you know some real shit is going to really be coming down. Let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope that calmer heads will come together, that they'll stop this escalation and de-escalate, and let's get things back to at least some normalcy, you know, but I don't know. All right, folks, be safe. I speak favor and much love over you all. Much love over this country. Much love to both Congress, Senate, executive branches, judicial branches. We speak peace over you. We speak peace of mind for you, and we speak favor over you. So that's how I look at it. All right, everyone.